Story time. A friend of mine was a member of the 101st Airborne Division, one of the Army's most storied units in 2001. On September 11th, he and about 30 others from his unit went to the range to qualify on their weapons. They arrived just as the news reports came in that an airplane had flown into the World Trade Center's North Tower, but the details were limited and they didn't think much of it. They got to the range and spent the next several hours getting fed information through calls on their flip phones. They heard that the South Tower had also been crashed into and learned that the planes weren't private planes, as many had assumed, but commercial airlines. The reports kept coming in: the Statue of Liberty, Camp David, the Pentagon, the Washington Monument. At different points, they'd been told that all of these places had been attacked. He described feeling like the situation was surreal. Everyone was worried, but it all seemed unbelievable. As they approached noon, they were waiting for the last few people to qualify before returning to post. Someone asked about plans for lunch, and someone else replied that he was going to try to get KFC if it was still standing. This got a laugh from the group, and it wasn't until later, when the full scale of what was happening that day was understood, that my friend was troubled about the laughter. He felt it was wildly inappropriate and felt a great deal of shame that he had laughed. My friend, if you're listening, and I hope that you are, you and your friends were doing what humans have been doing throughout the time, and what we're going to think significantly about today: using humor to cope with tragedy. Hello, everyone. I'm Pete, and as always, I'm joined by my incomparable co-host, Melissa.
Well, hello, everyone. Pete, I absolutely do this. Humor is my go to coping mechanism, even when it is not necessarily appropriate. So I am definitely eager to dive into and to discuss this topic.
Okay. So, how about I validate you and let
Hmm.
you know that you're not alone? We all do this. Use humor in our lives to help us deal with tragedy or misfortune. Humor helps us deal with stress, making bad situations seem more bearable.
Like your friend did on 9/11.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And as you know, he wasn't alone in using humor to offset the direness of the situation.
Hmm.
The whole country was rocked by that event. Everyone seemed to be stumbling around in a daze, processing intense sadness and sorrow. And I remember SNL came back on,
Hmm.
and it was a turning point for the recovery of the nation.
I totally remember that episode. Um, Giuliani came on, right? It
Hmm.
starts off, they're honoring the first responders at Ground Zero who look rough because they
Yeah,
just
they did.
come from providing aid for an extensive amount of time. And then you had Lauren Michaels, the producer of SNL. He comes out, have a little parlay. And at the culmination, he says, "Can we be funny?" To which Mayor Giuliani does not miss a beat and says, "Why start now?"
Yeah, and I think at the time, he was America's mayor, right?
Yeah,
I think it was so important that he was the one that got that first laugh, that he gave everyone
like,
permission to laugh again, right? He
yeah,
showed that he was the picture of the city's resilience, but he was saying it's okay.
yeah, I totally get that's a word I was thinking of too. It was like permission to laugh again. It was like as if the somberness had been cracked. You have like a little light starting to peek through that fissure. And
Right.
to that end, I would like to say that I truly believe that humor is definitely coming up on the horizon. It is definitely starting to be looked at in the world for the value it adds. And I think we can probably credit the advent of positive psychology because it's definitely being studied more for sure. It's becoming like a real boy, if you will.
Yeah, no, 100%. And we know from the discussions that we had leading up to this that humor wasn't always valued.
Absolutely. It's like your one funny aunt at a family gathering. You are so glad that she's there because she's bringing light and levity. But come on, nobody is taking her seriously.
No, no, they are not. But I'm the guy trying to get within earshot so that I can get through this thing with a little bit of laughter.
I do not doubt that. Not at all. You're probably doing the place card settings to make sure you
Yeah,
score the seat next to her, right? So it's like we want to reap the benefits of humor, but there's still this vibe that we should keep it under wraps. It's not appropriate. And should you dare laugh when you should be crying? Well, there's going to be some pearl clutching going on around you.
yes. Well, I'll tell you what, for all you would-be pearl clutchers, I will be happy to explain the benefits of humor. We can use it to make others feel happy. We can use it to build rapport. And as we've discussed, we can use it to deal with stressful situations.
Absolutely. And humor is linked to increased feelings of hopefulness and optimism and emotional well being. And we all expect that, right? Like that makes sense.
Sure.
But having a sense of humor also correlates to other strengths like wisdom and a love of learning.
Mm,
And it's even correlated with higher IQ and higher emotional intelligence, which is
mm,
our
well,
ability to
mm.
control our emotions and deal with others in an empathetic way.
Huh. Well, and going back to positive psychology, a sense of humor coupled with gratitude, hope, and spirituality are part of a suite of strengths that the positive psych guys call transcendence, which help us forge connections to the world and give our lives meaning.
Transcendence. Yes. Who doesn't want to be transcended? Very lovely. I feel like I'm now on a mountaintop breathing fresh, clean air. Well, I find it interesting that the psych world seems to be the one lagging behind in regard to giving humor the credit that it's due because, dude, this is totally brain games here. Other facets of the medical community have been on board with leveraging humor for a very long time. As early as the 1300s, there was a guy, Henri de Mondeville, a
Oof, oof.
professor of surgery, and he used humor as a form of therapy for his patients after surgery.
I am not going to let that go by without commenting on that pronunciation. That was fantastic.
Thank you. And the actual French speakers, of course, that are listening are like,
Yeah.
what
Oh
was
yeah. Yeah.
that?
At
Right? They're
yeah.
pearl clutching right now.
At Melissa in your comments about the pronunciation.
Don't at me, boy.
No, but your example makes me think of Patch Adams actually, which
Hmm. Hmm.
which if you're around our age, you might remember as a movie that Robin Williams was in, but it was based on a real doctor, and
Yeah.
he incorporated humor into his practice. He believed, like your example, that humor helps patients heal, and I've never had my family doctor break into a stand-up routine, but some definitely see the positive influence laughing has on people.
I think we're on to something here. We can have open mic night and like clinic appointments,
Oh,
right?
think
I
about
mean,
yeah, think about the people that would line up for vaccinations at a comedy extravaganza.
right? I don't think this cross section has been had yet. No, I know. There's like a cat cafe here. Like odder things have been parsed together. So I think this for anyone who's an entrepreneur out there, like this is your time. Strike while this iron is hot. Right.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
There's a
Okay.
market for this.
There's gotta be. So you say Patch Adams, I say Norman Cousins,
Oh, okay.
because in seventh grade for extra credit biology class, we had the option to read Norman Cousins' Anatomy of an Illness. And you know that I did because Melissa don't pass up no points. It was one of the most influential books of my formative years, one that I have continued to reread,
Hmm.
to recommend, to buy for people until present day. That book it first called attention to the potential therapeutic effects of humor on somebody's health. And Cousins believe that even if laughter wasn't producing specific biochemical changes, it opens you up to all those positive feelings like joy and hope and confidence and love. And it's blocking those deep feelings of, like apprehension, panic that accompany serious illness or injury, which are going to affect how fast you heal.
Yeah.
And he liked to say, if you can laugh at it, you can survive it.
You know, it's funny that he said that. Yeah,
Aha.
right, right. Every time I say that's funny, let's have a little ding go off in the background. Ding. That's
Frank.
funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was talking about he didn't have proof of any biochemical changes. Um, but it does. But research does show that laughter has physiological benefits. So Norman Cousins, a tip to the hat to you, sir. In 2003, there was a study that used a functional MRI scan to monitor the activity of people's brains while they were being subject to images that were either funny or not funny.
Hmm.
And what the scans revealed was the humorous images lit up the brain's language processing centers, but also the reward centers, which
Oh,
regulate the release of dopamine.
oh. Got it. Got it. That's yeah. Sorry for the pause. I was thinking about little rats and like trying to press like the little lever for the funny image. That's what I was doing there in my brain.
So it
Um,
wasn't Pavlov's thing. No, it was something else. Yeah.
that's right. Right. It wasn't dogs salivating. No, it's rats laughing. Something. Yes. Um, okay. So now I see we're at the point of what have I read recently in research. Okay. So I see your MRI imaging and I
Uh-huh.
up you. Yes. So I recently came across an article that talked about potentially using laughter as part of a protocol for treating the clinically depressed. So mm, let's be very clear. I'm not like if you are very, if you are clinically depressed, this is your answer. But the work that is being done explores the feasibility of using humor to try to reset the reward center, like you're talking about, of people's brains to
Uh-huh.
help them feel less depressed or anxious. So that coupled with, the other normal protocols, I mean, this is what's being explored present day for sure.
Sure. And yeah, I would be stunned, honestly, if people weren't looking into a way to incorporate humor. Um,
Hmm.
it has such a powerful effect on our brain. Seeing something funny actually causes a response that's similar to the euphoria that's brought on by recreational drugs.
Which is why those rats keep hitting that lever. I'm telling you,
That's
there's something
exactly
here.
it.
Right? They're like, I will take a hit any way I can get it. Pow, pow. Well, I've totally experienced this. Don't you? You just feel better after a good laugh, right?
I do, yeah.
I mean, the morning after a rousing night at the comedy club, my abs hurt like I just got put through the paces at the gym.
Well, yeah, and that's because when you start laughing, your body responds in a way that is very much like a cardio workout, right?
Mm-hmm.
Within 10 minutes, your blood oxygen content goes up.
Mm-hmm.
The contraction of your facial muscles and your abs help to expend nervous energy, and your heart rate, blood pressure, and the muscle tension. They've all been tested to stay at levels below normal for like 45 minutes after a person last laughs.
After they last laugh,
Yeah.
the person who last laughs,
Yes. They
that was not
last
lost
laugh,
on me.
which means they laugh best. So,
Oh,
uh-huh.
all right. Well, all of you fitness tracker makers of the world, it is time to add in a way of tracking calories burned from laughing because I want credit for what I'm doing during the day, right? Not only for walking my steps, but for having a chuckle from a time to two. So, all right, we got physical benefits, check. And we have really only skimmed the surface on the psychological benefits of humor because as we're sort of getting to, we know that a good laugh can change the way you perceive your situation. Finding something funny gives you like a certain distance from it,
Hmm.
makes it appear a little less threatening. It can help you alleviate feelings of being overwhelmed.
Yeah, making things appear less threatening, kind of like in The Lion King when Simba says he laughs in the face of danger. Ha ha ha.
Yes, it's been a minute since I've seen that, but I will take your word for it. Whatever you said there, yes, absolutely. I'm down with that. Yes. So this makes since we're getting into this part of this discussion here, this makes me think about the German term Galgenhumor.
Uh,
So they came up with this term back in 1848. to refer to cynical humor brought on by difficult or stressful situations.
You bring so much international flavor to this. You've got, you've
I
got,
try.
you've got Henri earlier. You had German in the last episode.
Yes.
Galgen humor.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm not familiar with this term.
Oh, you are. Listen, Galgan humor, gallows humor, which is it's
Oh,
gallows humor. Yes, yes, yes,
yeah.
yes.
Okay, yeah. Now that you mention, I can hear that. Sure, but okay. So
Hmm.
you're telling me that gallows humor is good for my mental health. So uh, yeah, you're gonna have to do some work to get me there.
All right. Okay. All right. So gallows humor. Yes. So historically, it has been a tool for those who find themselves in situations where they do not have the influence to improve their situation in life. So this specific type of humor gives people in otherwise hopeless situations some measure of control, like if not over their situation, over their reaction to the situation at least.
Right, right. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. So uh, talking about people in oppressive situations. So I mean, I can't think of a more oppressed people uh, than those that were held in concentration camps during World
Mhm.
War II, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's like the extreme.
Mhm.
Um, Despite their terrible situation, right? They lost loved ones. They were torn from their homes. They were pulled out of their jobs. They were malnourished. They were experimented on. They were mistreated.
Mhm.
Um, and death was a daily presence.
Sure.
And they still found the strength to laugh.
Yeah, strength I think is a really great way to phrase that, but it might be like the humor that gave them strength
Mm,
versus, strength to laugh. The
uh-huh.
humor gave them strength to persevere.
Mhm.
So you're going to hear my non-multiculturalism here when I mispronounce this poor guy's name. So there's a sociologist, Antonin Obdurlik.
Ooh,
You can look him up, right?
yeah.
Obrdlik.
Oof.
Sociologist said that gallows humor is an index of strength or morale on the part of oppressed people. I think that's so like profound. And then you have Viktor Frankl, right? He's the
Mm-hmm.
one who wrote about his internment at Auschwitz. He wrote a memoir in 1946. He was describing humor as a way, um, it's as one of the soul's weapons to transcend despair. So again, we have that theme of transcendence, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
About his experience being interned at Auschwitz, he said that humor can afford an aloofness and an ability to rise above any situation.
Wow, that is such a powerful sentiment.
Hmm.
When you think about, what they were experiencing, for him to express that it was laughter that allowed them to rise above their circumstances. It really it speaks to how humor helps to strengthen the resilience of the human spirit.
Yeah, absolutely. And Italians, your people,
Yeah.
they are renowned for recognizing the power that laughing at someone or something has, and how making jokes can embolden the oppressed and make them more defiant when dealing with their oppressors. Okay, so they refer to it as, well, in Italian, here we go. Una frisata di sepperia? No, see, I'm a Spanish
Yeah. No, you're
speaker.
definitely getting
Yeah,
added for that one. Yeah.
yeah, whatever. It translates to, it will be a laugh that buries you. It'll be
Oh.
the laugh that buries you. Yes,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. That sounds very Italian actually. And I
right?
can we get a graphic with a map and we can highlight all the countries that you're referencing at some point so we can just like I think that would be uh I think that would be a lot of fun.
I think I would prefer just to be that one aisle at the grocery store where they have international foods.
That's right.
And you don't have to go down it if you don't want
Yeah,
to, but you
right,
can and you find
right.
everything there.
And you
Yeah,
turn around and oh, look at that. That's Czech. Oh, look at that. That's Italian. Oh, hey, there's some German. Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah.
there you go.
So
Yes.
but before we lose sight of what we're talking about here,
Yeah.
um, it wasn't just concentration camp victims that understood the power of humor.
Hmm.
Humor was considered to be an act of will against the Fuhrer and the state of the Nazi government if it was, if it was aimed at the Nazis.
Hmm.
Right? Not all humor, but yeah, the the crime was actually punishable by death. Right? The
I
severity
believe
of
it. Yeah.
punishment for a joke depended on how good the joke was. So if you made a really good joke
Hmm.
about the Nazis and they found out, you could be put to death.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the better the joke, the greater the punishment.
I believe it because it has a powerful effect, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So I actually, so I don't know, I don't have a lot of insight into this, but I, I guess I'm going to challenge the idea that it was just humor against the government because I think that they were probably worried about humor at large because even dark humor, perhaps even especially dark humor, can be a balm to your soul. It can be like a rallying point because in order to get the humor you have to understand the situation.
Mhm.
You have to be experiencing the same circumstance or at least be very much in the know to like get the humor.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. And
Hmm.
and and you find in special populations where there's high levels of stress as a norm, you'll find dark humor prevalent in those groups. Like I'm thinking the military, police, firefighters, medical personnel. Yeah, they use it to forge bonds, and they use it to like shield themselves from the trauma they experience daily. But it's important for these groups while they're engaging in that sort of bonding, uh, that they follow the social cues to of the situation around them. So physicians might and do indulge in gallows humor amongst other physicians, but it obviously would be inappropriate to do that in front of a grieving family member.
Yeah, that makes sense. Context to include the role that you're playing at the time. Like, are you the doctor or are you the patient? Definitely
Yeah,
matters.
absolutely right.
Yeah. Well, as I'm thinking about this, I think we should probably take a moment to splice out perhaps two ways that gallows humor is used so we don't lump them together here and lose an important delineation. Because
Sure. Yeah.
I think that you have instances where we use gallows humor to laugh at life's tribulations, like our first responders, and those serve a healthy purpose. And then you have these instances where people are using gallows humor as emotional defense. Like we're talking about the concentration camp victims who are desperately trying to deflect attention away from the reality of their unbearable anguish. And with the emotional defense, it's like you really hit bottom of the barrel. You're like straight out of recourses, straight out of resources.
Yeah. Even Freud was a big believer in using humor for good, um,
Mm-hmm.
but he identified that humor could also be harmful. Yeah, that guy was uh, he wasn't all rainbows and kittens for sure. Um,
Mm-hmm.
he was specifically talking about the caustic forms of humor, like sarcasm,
Sure.
uh, and especially when it was directed at yourself.
Hmm. And sometimes when we veer into that self-deprecating type of humor, other people don't recognize it or stop us. And why? Because think about it. When we're the benefactor of the humor, we often aren't thinking about whose expense it is at. I mean, after all, we're being entertained. Do I not
Right.
entertain you? Yes.
But certainly, I mean, you've been in situations, I know I have, where you realize that you're like, oh, you know what, these aren't funny anymore. Like
Mhm.
you can tell, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that we've already established here that there's definite light and dark versions of humor, some more healthy than others. And some humor is because you really have no other way of coping, and that situation is very dire. Yes.
Yeah, there's another researcher, since we're on a roll with researchers today, a cat that goes by the name of William Kahn, who he identified 5 primary functions that humor serves, both for individuals and for groups.
Mm-hmm.
There are 2 that we've been discussing the last few minutes, and those are coping with misfortune and reframing a situation. But I'd like to bring up the other 3.
Well, I gotta know now. Clearly. Yes. Tell me. What are they?
Okay, so one of them, and this is one I'm going to start with the one that I think is most unique,
Mm-hmm.
is we use humor to express hostility, believe it or not.
What?
Yeah, you touched on this. Actually, you touched on it a minute ago,
Okay.
and you spoke of self-deprecating humor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Making yourself the butt of a joke,
Mm.
um, especially if the humor revolves around irony or sarcasm, can be harmful to your psyche.
Uh-huh.
And if you see someone engaging in this sort of repetitive negative self-talk,
Yeah.
they're most likely feeling insecure, and a kind thing to do would be to give them reassurance.
That's definitely good advice. Yes. And I'd imagine that aggressive humor isn't limited to self-talk, though, is it?
Unfortunately, and predictably, you're right.
Uh,
Um, Directing that same irony or sarcasm at others
mm,
will it'll strain relationships.
yeah.
It can escalate tension instead of putting people at ease.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and and this is the function where we find our socially unacceptable humor.
Mm-hmm.
That would include jokes or comments that are racist or sexist or ageist or just down the line.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so they all fall into this category, but it encompasses any humor that's told at the expense of others.
Mm-hmm. So we've been focusing on using humor to overcome adversity, and in that case, you're using humor to cause adversity.
Yeah.
Really.
Well,
Yeah. I can only think of a few things more disappointing than hearing someone make a joke at someone else's expense because I'm like, you're not funny, dude. You're a jerk. There's a
yeah.
difference.
No, for sure.
Yeah, there's a huge difference. So, okay, so what's the next function?
Okay, so so let's see. The next one would be to communicate with others, which on its face seems obvious, but
Right.
there's a nuance to it.
Okay.
Well, so let's say I'm moving to a new apartment,
Mhm.
and of course I want help.
Yeah.
If I communicate about moving in a way that is predominantly complaining about being inconvenienced or the effort it's going to take, I'm actually going to be discouraging anyone from helping me.
Oh, I 100% believe that because I don't want to come help you move and hear you kvetch about it all day long. Like, I just want to show up, pull out my back, helping you move your futon, get my slice of pizza, my very warm White Claw, because it's been sitting in your fridge, which isn't on yet, and I want to get out of there.
Yeah, I feel like this is a recollection more than a hypothetical for you,
It's not like it happened just last weekend, Pete. Right.
but but
Yes.
but that's exactly why I want to use humor to right because it's going to put my friends at ease and make them more receptive to lending me a hand.
Mm-hmm.
And the way this works is joking about it indicates to them that I've got things under control. And if they help me, I'm not going to overburden them. They're not going to be doing all the work.
Mm-hmm.
But if I turn around and I lay the humor on too thick, right? If I make too much light of the situation,
Yeah.
it sends them a message that I don't actually need any help, and I'm right back to discouraging their assistance.
Oh, I get what you're saying now. Okay. So like you got to be like this mental ninja to wield all these rules about humor. Like there's
Right. No, right. Except we don't think about it.
Mhm.
We're on autopilot when we're doing these things. So it's not something that we necessarily have control over.
Right. Which is probably why it's important to filter this is a great matter and, maybe give pause and think, maybe even significantly about it. Like, why exactly am
Right.
I doing this? Like,
Yeah.
what could be the end result? Like, think through it a little bit.
Yeah. No, right. Right. Some discretion
Sure.
should absolutely go into the mix when you're putting when you're putting messages together. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And this leads us to Khan's last function for humor, and that is to help us construct our identity with others.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Being funny helps make us seem relaxed and fun loving.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But with just like with communication, it requires there's a deft touch involved.
Mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm.
if you're too funny, if all you are is funny, then people will think you're immature or you lack depth. So you've got to, like, there's a sweet spot in there you've got to stay in.
Sure. What was that? You lack depth, you're saying?
Yeah, depth, right? Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Like you're definitely walking a tightrope in some of these scenarios and you don't even like realize it. But you got to be like baby bear man, not too hot, not too cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this definitely ties into something that I was going to bring up during this episode. There is something called the Human Styles Questionnaire.
Ooh.
So yeah, this is a validated scale. It was developed by a guy named Rod Martin and his students at the University of Western Ontario. Shout out to Canada. And basically, if you take this, you can determine how you are using humor in your daily life. So you are given like various statements like, I enjoy making people laugh. And then you answer them and you get a score on 4 humor styles.
Okay.
So to sort of this goes hand in glove with what you were just talking about, the types of humor. So
Okay.
these are the styles that you can come up with. You get attentive humor. That's when we're putting people at ease, right? I'm telling a funny joke, a funny story. There's self-enhancing humor, which when I'm using humor to cope with stress, cheer myself up with it, right? This is like when I'm the patient and I get bad news and I'm like, well, third one, here we go. Now we get dark. Aggressive humor, which is what we touched on earlier, right? We're using humor to disparage, ridicule, manipulate someone else. Those racist, sexist jokes fall into that category. And then, just like you were talking about before, you got that self-defeating humor. It's a tendency to amuse others, but at your own expense. And you know what is included in this? It's like when someone is teasing us and we laugh along because we're using our laughter, our humor to hide our true feelings from others. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, this inventory has been used in hundreds of studies. I found it to be a little bit enlightening. I thought I would share it.
You know, it would be fascinating. Would it be possible to link that put that up on our social media and let other people go through the test themselves?
Yeah, we could totally make that happen. You should take it too, Pete, for sure.
Yeah, well, of course I will. I'm curious. I mean, I want you to put it up so I can take it, but I didn't want to be selfish about it.
There'll be an N of 1 after this. Yes, big surge. Yes.
So, what did you find? You said you found this enlightening, but what about it? Like, what lit you up about it?
Okay, well, yeah. So perhaps I miscategorized it because I wasn't necessarily surprised at my results. Like, I know that I use humor to put people at ease in diffuse situations. Basically, the more severe the situation, like the funnier I get. But I found a study after taking it that looked at the relationship between those styles and depression. And so this kind of goes back to what we were talking about in the very beginning about being used as in conjunction with other protocols as an additional modality to help with clinical depression. So what's interesting is that scoring high on those 2 positive humor styles has been linked with positive health outcomes. You're happier, you have healthier relationships. And I mean, you can fill in the blanks here. You got the other hand, you got those negative humor styles. It's going to have a negative effect on your health.
So it's not laughing in and of itself that has the positive health benefits as much as what you're laughing at or why you're laughing.
Yeah, I think I'm sure there has to be, right. There's subsets of this. Absolutely. Just laughing, haha, at someone, slipping on a banana peel. Like, yeah, exactly. Right. It's, sure. I would agree with you.
No, yeah, that makes sense. Well, we have covered a tremendous amount of ground here on this topic, don't you think?
Yeah, and I know you're itching to go take that humor.
I actually am. I'm actually dying to get on that. Yes. What do you say we wrap this one up today?
Yeah, I think we definitely have enough to think significantly about, at least for a week.
So let's see, 1 week, that would take you right up to the next podcast.
Right, as if I planned it. Yes, absolutely. Part of my grand design. Yeah.
All right, well, in the meantime, we'd love to hear from you, our significant others. Please tell us what you thought about the topic, what we didn't cover but should have, and what you'd like to hear us talk about next.
And as we said, we'd be jazzed if you want to take that humor styles questionnaire. We'll have it posted to our social media accounts. Tell us if you were surprised by your results. What you think? You can find us on the Insta and the Twitter at ThinkSig Pod. We're also on Facebook if you just search for Think Significantly.